I was going to ask you about telling us a little bit more about BRIT-ish and the double bottom line.
Yeah. Do you know what that's about? So when you think about what you're going to achieve as an investor, you've got to lay out that we have a thesis and we have some goals.
Yeah.
And what are the goals advancing? So one goal is certainly that we can create wealth for the people who invest in us. But that's sort of table stakes. If you're going to be an investor of someone else's money, I don't know many people who give you money and say, I want you to lose it all. Most people say, I'd like to have it back. And then particularly if you're doing it for organizations, the reason they want it back is often because it helps to advance other causes.
Yes.
So if I want to do charitable things and philanthropic things, I need the capital to be able to do that. So that's another piece of that equation. So we have as our primary focus and our first bottom line, returning capital. And in our first fund, 100% of the investors are Black people, either from the West Coast or the East Coast of the United States, from the UK, or from France. So we are very pleased to return their capital. And at the moment, we're returning, we've only been in business for 3 years of investing, and we're returning 4.5 times what they put in. That's the value of what they put in. And that's good. That's good in the world of venture capital. Even though we have somewhat of a bad name, that's a good return to have for your investors. Beyond that, we think that it's absolutely necessary if we're going to have social change, not to just put money in the hands of a few people, a few institutions, which they can then do whatever they want with. But we also believe it's necessary to create opportunities called jobs. So if you create organizations, those organizations create jobs. If you create jobs, people can grow in the organization and move up the ladder. They can actually go onto another organization, and that other organization sort of help to colonize it from this first organization. And then finally, they're also in a position to be able to start their own organizations with the right sort of background. People who came out of Meta or Facebook years ago, you hear about them in all sorts of organizations. Again, they colonize other organizations, but then they start a lot of organizations of their own. That's an important piece to us because we know that one of those or some of those or many of those are going to exit. And when they exit, the thing that happens is a lot of wealth is distributed. And that wealth can then be used for philanthropic reasons, paying off your student loans, buying a house. All those things are fine, but will also be used to seed the next generation. Those individuals who are coming after you who have similar aspirations. And therefore, not only do we have BRIT-ish's money going into and creating this double bottom line, but then we have other people's going in. And therefore, we create a bigger and bigger opportunity and a faster and faster moving flywheel. And so you get better and better results. And therefore, we can build our ecosystem that's necessary faster. We can have more of this, these Black businesses and the like. Can I give you one example?
Of course, please.
We have an organization that we invested in called Marshmallow. Marshmallow, which is an insurtech company started by twins here in London. Now, the story of them is very famous because people found out in 2021 that they had become a unicorn. So unicorn meaning they had $1 billion they were valued at $1 billion. We invested when they were worth 30 million. 30 million, and 18 months after we invest, they're worth 1.2 billion. So can you imagine how much wealth is created from the investment that we made? And we were able to work with the organization. We have a tiny piece of the business, but it's worth a lot of money. And so that is a fantastic opportunity. The double bottom line piece is that they have been able to maintain over the life of the organization. They've doubled in terms of the amount of employees year after year. And they still maintain 50% women, which is almost twice as much as what you see in most technology companies, and 20% Black people, people of color. And these are key positions, not just, in entry-level positions, not in training programs, but in key decision-making positions within the organization, not just in treasury, not just in HR, but throughout the organization, including in the technology organization, in the C-suite, et cetera. That is the kind of change that we wish to make. That's the kind of secondary bottom line. So that's the double bottom line that we wish to have happen. And it has been for us a fantastic example of what BRIT-ish seeks to be able to accomplish. accomplish.
It absolutely sounds it. I mean, I'm gonna now ask you a question which I know is going to be a difficult one to answer, and it's, what do you most enjoy about what you do? I know it's going to be hard to choose one, because clearly from all we've been hearing, you are just enthusing about what you do. It's passion. In fact, in a little way, you strike me as, I'm not sure if it's a business politician or a political businessman, but for you, it's not just about the numbers. It's about the change. It's about moving the game on.
You know what I like most, and I'm flattered. Again, you all have flattered me greatly in this interview. And I hope my mother listens to this and then believes that.
Adeline, he's turned out well.
Adeline, exactly. He's okay. He's okay across the pond. I would say that being able to be a leader among a group of people who want the world to be a better place for lots of people, broadly wants the world to be a better place. Like your mission at the magazine is to make sure that that we are seeing images and we're hearing things that's better for everyone. It's great for Black businesses to grow and prosper. It's good for the British economy. It's good for the world. It's estimated that in the United States alone, because of the underinvestment in Black business, there's $1 trillion of gross domestic product which is lost annually. $1 trillion. Because there's not enough money going into Black businesses, and particularly among Black women. Black women are the fastest growing sector of entrepreneurs in the world. In the UK, the same thing, the fastest growing sector. Now, part of that's for good reason and part of it's for bad reasons. Part of it is because we're finding with motherhood the issues of being in the workforce and having the flexibility needed to have primary responsibility for home and hearth. We find it because women are not finding themselves getting advanced within the organization and needing to create their own ways. We find that the needs that are associated with the markets that they're part of are just not being addressed. So they need to make sure that these things get addressed. And then we find that also when things go sour in an economy like it is going now, often the first people that are released are women. And so all of those things are leading to more women who need to or want to start businesses. And yet, the failure rate, think about at the beginning of COVID, the failure rate for Black businesses in the first month of lockdown in the United States, 40% of Black businesses closed between March and April of 2020. That number indicates how precarious is the situation and how concentrated we are in organizations and businesses that are very susceptible to short-term economic headwinds. And so so when I say what do I most enjoy, I think working against those dynamics, working against what need not be for us a story that is immutable. We believe the story can be changed, and we believe the story at Impact X can be changed within a generation.
Absolutely.
Because if you think about Elon Musk, you'll open your newspaper today, whether you're in Belgium, whether you're in the Congo, whether you're in Brooklyn in New York City, you open your newspaper and Elon Musk will be somewhere in your newspaper. And we didn't know Elon Musk 15 years ago. If we had a Black woman who had started an organization like Tesla in that scale, and Impact X believes that there is a Black woman, and we believe there are many Black women who can start like this, that indeed by investing in them and helping them to grow, we will have people who can not only create, billionaires and the richest people in the world, but then beyond that, they'll create a lot of other jobs and a lot of other opportunities for a lot of other people, millionaires, and maybe even some billionaires. And those people will again, and I'm going to use this term very specifically, colonize the world. And they will change the way that the world functions and the business world functions. And that's what we want to have happen. We want that Black woman from Bristol or Birmingham, we want her to then be asked by every government to be part of a conversation about economic policy. We want her to be in court every day trying to talk about sort of what is the role of employment. We want that organization. It's not fun to be sued, but if you're sued, that means you're important enough to be actually looked at and not overlooked. So we want her to be part of all the conversations in every economy. And that's the difference. That's what we've never had. Think about it. There's never been a Fortune 500 company started by a Black person. And there's never been a FTSE 100, 200, 300 company started by a Black person. And if we had some of those, then we can also hire all the Black lawyers we want. We can hire all the, create all the Black banks that we wish, all those sorts of things will happen.
amazing.
Good.
Amazing.
We're right behind you.
You're right next to me. We're going to do this together.
Right beside you, even.
Yeah, there you go. We're doing this together.
This is it. This is it. I'm loving what you're saying, Eric. You know, I'm a Black woman from Birmingham. I'm loving what you're saying, and we're in agreement with what you're doing. This whole aim. It's amazing. It really is amazing. Now, we're also very privileged to have you over here because you are profiled and described as an African American. So I want to ask you, how long have you actually been in the UK? And do you see yourself as American now or British? How do you identify?
Well, I want to be, I'm going to have my coming out now. I, since December of 2020, have been a Black Brit. So I'm
Welcome.
and which indicates sort of how long I've been here, right? So I have been here since 2014. I came to help run an organization that was an artificial intelligence company working in the consumer tech space. So if you are using your cell phone while you're listening to this and multitasking, and you're spelling out words that are you put in 1 or 2 letters and it predicts the rest of the word. That's the technology that I was a part of here in the UK. Okay. It was called SwiftKey. We sold to Microsoft back in 2016. So I got here in 2014. By 2016, I'd worked myself out of a job. And then I went to another organization where I worked myself out of a job again. And we sold to Medtronic, another US company. So I have been in the privileged situation of coming to work. I am an immigrant and I'm a worker. I'm sort of like the people who came on the Windrush.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I came because the Brits said we need some people to help work, and this is the kind of work that we think that you can uniquely and to help build our economy, and that's what I've been doing ever since I got here.
Okay.
Oh,
now